It's October 29th, 2014, Kansas City, Missouri. This is Game 7 of the World Series between the Royals and Giants. San Francisco leads 3-2 in the bottom of the ninth inning. Kansas City has 2 outs and a man on third. We're about to see the final act in a truly epic performance. You might remember which epic performance I'm talking about, but do you remember how we got to this moment? What's he doing here? How did this happen? Where did these runs come from? By answering those questions, you'll realize how precarious, how precious the conditions are for this moment in time. And the only way to find those answers is to rewind. First of all, why are we in Kansas City? After decades in the basement, the Royals finished 2014 with a better record than the Giants, and they won the American League wildcard to end a playoff drought of almost 30 years. But that's not why they had home field advantage. No. It's because in 2014, we are still inhabiting the delightfully stupid era in which the league that won the MLB All-Star Game gets home field advantage in the World Series. And this year's event wasn't your typical All-Star Game. It was the last one of Derek Jeter's career, a momentous stop on his long farewell tour. Jeter announced in February that this season would be his last, setting up a whole year in which every single opponent would bend over backwards to show him respect. No, not like that. With a 2? No, not over there, over there. Yeah! Because he deserved respect, National League pitcher Adam Wainwright served him up absolute meatballs. Just big, fat pitches straight down the middle of the plate. And Jeets turned one of those freebies into a double that sparked a big scoring inning in a game the AL won 5-3. Wainwright readily admitted to grooving pitches for Jeter in that game. It was a whole controversy. So yeah, because of that, we're at the AL Stadium for Game 7. And because we're at an AL Stadium, the Giants have played this game with a designated hitter. And that DH, Michael Morse, despite playing with a strained oblique muscle, has batted in 2 of their 3 runs. San Francisco's first run came off Morse's sac fly in the second inning. And the third one, the one that gave San Francisco this lead, had just a bit of help from the location. It had been a humid couple of days in Kansas City, which may have made the outfield grass a bit dewy once it cooled off at night. Either way, it's slick out there. So in the 4th inning, when Pablo Sandoval's grounder trickled onto the grass, Royals second baseman Omar Infante couldn't get the footing to throw him out at first. And another thing, Kauffman Stadium has a deep outfield, one of the deepest in the majors. So later in that same inning, Sandoval had enough space to tag up from second to third on a fly ball. And by the time Morse came up to bat, all it took was a little bloop single for Sandoval to truck home and break the 2-2 tie. So in a weird trickle-down way, the Giants have Derek Jeter and friends to thank for some of their scoring today. The American League won a game that not everyone was taking seriously, which means the Giants get to play with a deep outfield, slippery grass, and a DH here in Game 7. Of course, the Royals had all those things going for them too, but they're sitting on just 2 runs. They lost a chance to get more because of San Francisco defense, but also because of circumstance. Before the 2014 season, MLB expanded its instant replay rules, giving managers the right to trigger a replay by challenging an umpire's call. And today, that rule made a difference. In the bottom of the 3rd, the Royals had a man on first and no one out when Eric Hosmer smacked a sharp grounder up the middle. It looked like a threat, until Joe Panik made a spectacular defensive play. Hosmer was called safe at first, but Giants manager Bruce Bochy contested the call. A year ago, he couldn't have done that. And after almost 3 minutes of deliberation and so much grumbling from the announcers,
I think we've seen enough looks at it. I mean, this is too long.
We had the first successful manager challenge in World Series history. And what could have been a big Royals inning was nipped in the bud by a double play unapparent to the human eye. And now, yeah, still sitting on just the 2 runs. But it's not too late to add more. All the Royals need is one good swing from Salvador Perez to drive a man in from third and tie the game. Perez has been a hero before, pretty recently. Without his walk-off RBI single in the wildcard game, the Royals might not have made it this far. But tonight, heroics are a lot to ask of Salvador. He got drilled right in the thigh meat by a pitch in the 2nd inning. That definitely still hurts, and Perez is hitless this evening. It almost makes you wish this run could score a different way. And maybe it could have. Alex Gordon is the man on third. Gordon succeeded with some bold base running earlier in the game, Back in the second inning, that deep outfield gave him space to tag up and reach third base on a fly ball, which put him in position to score KC's second run soon thereafter.
Alex Gordon just stole a run by tagging up from second base to get to third.
This time, Gordon is on third base because of a very, very poorly timed f*** up, the game's only error. But he may have shortchanged himself. Maybe. The ball was just getting relayed when Gordon reached third. He had a chance, albeit a dicey one, at one of the biggest inside-the-park homers ever. But KC's third base coach held him up. Despite that deep outfield, despite that wet grass, despite prior success with aggressive base running, the Royals opted to forego the risk and park Gordon at third, leaving the game in the hands of his teammates. So there he is. Now we gotta talk about the man who's trying to keep Gordon from reaching home. This is Madison Bumgarner, San Francisco's ace. He didn't start this game, and it is pretty amazing that he's on the mound right now in the bottom of the ninth. It's a little bit lucky too. Let's start there. Come with me back to the NLCS for a second. The Giants ended that series on a walk-off Game 5 homer from Travis Ishikawa. But they also watched Ishikawa struggle in left field. And in this World Series, as recently as yesterday in fact, Ishikawa has had more problems in left, including some slip-ups on that slick outfield grass. Bruce Bochy didn't want any more outfield blunders, not in a Game 7. So even with Ishikawa's big homer in the rearview mirror, Bochy swapped offense for defense tonight and gave Juan Perez the start in left. This would become important in the bottom of the fifth. It was at that juncture that Bumgarner entered the game. Bumgarner had absolutely dominated the playoffs, including wins as the starter in games 1 and 5 of this series. At the same time, Bumgarner was approaching 50 innings in the postseason, which would be an MLB record. This was a risk. Bumgarner was the hottest pitcher on earth, but he was also a starter unaccustomed to relief and approaching an unprecedented workload. And within moments, Bumgarner gave up a single to Omar Infante, first batter he faced. Not a good sign. Infante advanced to second on a sac bunt. With that runner in scoring position, next up for the Royals was Nori Aoki, a left-handed batter with a notable tendency to hit the ball to the opposite field. And so he did. Hard. Aoki f***ing cracked that thing up the left field line, and if it dropped, a run would probably score, the game would be tied, and it would be tough not to look at Bumgarner and say, look, this guy's been amazing, but he's hit his limit and we're gonna fall apart if we don't pull the plug. But San Francisco's bench coach expected Aoki to hit the ball to left, so he had the outfield shifted that way. And as we've established, the left fielder in pursuit wasn't the error-prone Ishikawa. It was Perez who made a graceful running catch to likely save a run and likely save Bumgarner's time on the mound. Bumgarner did not squander that time. From there, Madbum retired 13 straight batters, just mowing dudes down until that. Gordon broke up Bumgarner's streak with some help from the Giants outfield, but for better or worse, he stopped at third. And now, here we are. Royals down 3-2 in the bottom of the ninth, man on third, 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Salvador Perez's leg still hurts from getting drilled before, but he's KC's final hope to drive in a run that maybe should have already scored. One swing could turn the Royals' long-awaited playoff breakthrough into something even greater. Bumgarner is 1 out away from finishing one of the greatest postseason pitching runs in history, or 1 bad pitch away from blowing the whole thing. Okay, we've arrived. Welcome to a moment in history. For that performance, Madison Bumgarner would get 2014 World Series MVP and Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year. The Royals, of course, will go on to win the World Series the very next year, so you don't have to feel sorry for them. And Derek Jeter would go on to ruin the Miami Marlins. Thanks very much for watching Rewinder. Please like and subscribe to SB Nation. Feel free to keep recommending topics, and remember to drink water because it's important to stay hydrated.